Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening for wherever you're actually listening to this recording of the HR Circle. Welcome, and if you're new attendants, please subscribe. And if you have been listening to us for a long time, we're glad to have you. So this morning or this afternoon, we are actually talking to Brandon Toombs. He has been in the HR technology space forever and a day, but he's still young.
Makes him sound old.
Yeah.
No, but he's still very young. Still very young.
Not that the rest of us are.
Still a young man in person and at heart.
Okay,
but,
all right.
But with a long experience, which is super valuable. Mm-hmm. And he's here with us to discuss a little bit. He has authored books on the topic. He has discussed with the customers. He's in touch with customers all the time. What is the value of the cloud? What does it mean for a customer to move to the cloud? What are the point of attention? What is the point of the cloud? That sounds a familiar topic to everybody. Brandon, do you want to say a couple more words about yourself or just jump onto the topic?
I mean, the users could do a lot better. The listeners could do a lot better than me drone on about my past experiences. So let's just move on.
Anyway, your LinkedIn link is down in the comments. So let's get
started. I guess the one thing I'll say, suffice it to say, I have an SAP HR background, a long time SAP HR background, like you guys. But then I have been working in the cloud now for enough time to where I can also call that long time. That's when you know when you've got a career that involves two different software packages and they're both long time experiences. That's when you know you are getting old. So.
Or
so
that you're
I just want to make sure
that people should talk to. You know,
Right. So the main thing is just I want to make sure, because I'm going to be kind of direct and I encourage others to do the same. But I want it to come from a place of everyone knowing where I'm coming from, which is I am a lifer of SAP, and I can't say enough good things about the company. It's got some really good people doing some really nice things. I'm happy to put forth my critiques, but I should say from the outset, it's a great a package that is something that so many customers have gotten so much from for years and years now. So I got that out of the way.
Okay.
So kicking it out, in your experience, what is the biggest obstacle that you see customer discussing when they get to the suggestions or strong, gentle push to consider the cloud in their landscape?
So I think what I would say is, kind of turning this around for a second and just talk about, okay, let's just talk really, really quick about the value of why is the market, why is the world turning away from on-premise software? I don't know if you've noticed or if you tried to go to your local software store and pick up some QuickBooks or something like that. No, there's no such ththing anymore. There's no software. There's no on-premise. On-premise is dead or is dying. And why is that? Well, the reason is the cloud. And so what's the benefit of the cloud? The cloud is it's not only just that you have someone who is able to install the stuff for you, and you no longer have to download your or take your disk drives like we used to and install stuff. But really it's not just the fact that it's cloud; it's also multi-tenant, and multi-tenant is really where the benefit lies. And I'll just really quickly, the analogy I like to use is it's the difference between being on a cruise ship and being on a yacht. On a cruise ship, you will have a cabin, and in that cabin, you are able to avail yourself of everything that's going on that cruise ship, and you don't have to be an expert on anything. The climbing wall, the yogurt bar, the swimming pools, all of that just comes with the package, which is really nice. And the on-premise world, and that's the cloud. cloud. That's really the cloud we're talking about. The on-premise world is a yacht, and a yacht is, really nice. I mean, you get to do whatever you want to. You can have whatever staterooms you want. You can take down walls. You can do whatever you want to. But the problem is, a yacht is really expensive, and it's also a lot more maintenance. You got to have someone. You have to have your own engineers that you have to maintain. You have to have your own interior decorators. All of that stuff. If there's anything that goes wrong, it's instead of calling up maintenance on the cruise ship, instead what you're doing is you're maintaining all of that yourself, and that's really the value of this. And it's what's known as multi-tenant. And multi-tenant means that we're all in our staterooms, but someone is manning the entire ship and adding things to the ship and maintaining the ship, so we don't have to. And that's really the benefit of why people are going to the cloud, is because they can't be experts on keeping up a server room and doing all the things that we were used to doing. It's so much faster. You can move so much faster in a cloud multi-tenant environment, and that's really the benefit and the reason why everybody has been moving this way for a long time now. And so you, as and I'm probably talking to hopefully some on-premise people, that's why you're being encouraged, i.e. nudged, to move away from that, is because everybody knows this is the best way to move forward. And SAP is now, what they're trying to do is get people off of that on-premise, because now they're having to maintain everybody's yachts in addition to the cruise ship. So they want to get everybody off those yachts so that they can get everybody onto a cruise ship, which is a lot more lean and mean, and they're able to move quickly and get more stuff onto our cruise ship. So that's kind of the summary as to why this trend has been evolving. And of course, it's not an old trend now; it's been around for a while. So that's why your on-premise people need to realize this is not a trend that's reversing. No, it's not a fad. It's not going away. It's where we're headed.
So now that we're cruising,
we're just not getting there yet, though. That's what I don't understand, Brandon. I mean, there's 10,000 people or more still on premise, right? And I don't understand the fear. Or maybe it's not fear. Maybe it's prioritization of investment.
I think that's when we come on to the real topic of value. And something that is always a struggle I find in this kind of situation is to suggest how to measure that value. Because one thing is to measure one thing is already having a business case that shows what is the problem we're trying to correct. But another thing that is often failed is to take the same pulse later and to compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I hear a lot of customers talk here about, our consultants more talk about, we don't know if it's a success yet after we went live.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. How long does it take to realize you're a success? And how do you measure that?
Yeah, and of course, that's always been the big challenge with any kind of HR implementation, isn't it? I mean, because our business cases are a little bit more challenge. I mean, you can do the hard dollar cost savings, and quite frankly, there is some cost savings that can come from the fact that you're more nimble, and you're able to do more with fewer people than you are in the on-premise world. There's no question about it. In both on the basis side as well as support people, it's easier to work with. But then of course there's the soft dollar stuff too, and that's really that's the other piece that I think that we would, and when I say soft dollar, I mean talent, exploiting your talent, making it so that you can maintain or grow your people and know your workforce better. That is where having an integrated platform on cloud platform in our cruise ship analogy, you're just able to exploit and help people become and realize a better part of be a better part of the workforce, and that's something that's available to you in a cloud environment. And so if you can somehow make the case, and I believe you can, to say because you have better information, better programs, you're able to make your workforce more effective. That's where you can really make a strong case that going to the cloud is something that's exponentially worth your time. Is when you start talking about exploiting, making your workforce better.
think it's kind of a mindset change too, really, for the business.
And I think that's hooking on to what Sherry is saying. Some of the topics that I find most challenging with customers at that level is that as we define value for an HR implementation, much of the value comes from an acceleration. Time saved. Time saved is converted then in dollars. However, that time saved is time that nobody will ever find in the bank.
Right.
Yeah.
Because to actually even see it, you need to actually organize a change management approach that make use of that time, because otherwise that time, those 5 minutes per employee saved, which on a large workforce come to a large number, well, turn out to have a lot of coffees. So you spend more in coffee and you're
Exactly.
So yeah, it's important to actually make sure that they measure what they measured at the start. If they have measured the number of clicks, remeasure the number of clicks and verify that that has been reduced. If you don't see the dollars, is because you're probably measuring something else. You're hoping to see a bottom line change when you have measured seconds.
Are customers measuring, this is to all of you, are customers measuring employee experience today as part of that? Because I think there's a lot that you don't get in time savings, but you certainly get in employee experience.
For sure, some customers are. I don't know if all customers are measuring that. Some of the customers we work with, they do. It's an important part of why they're moving to the cloud in the first place. But other customers have more fundamental needs when they're moving to a new HR system, or essentially upgrading from that on-premise experience. So it's an important consideration, and even if I think they're not measuring it, it's a benefit that they're still going to receive, irrespective of whether they measure it or not. And it might not be the primary focus for them.
Yeah, and it's obviously hard to attract a workforce, the Gen Z workforce, when you're on very, very old software. That's not something where you're projecting the future, and so they want, that's something to be thinking about as well. Is if you can't even mobile enable what you're doing today with an on-premise system, what are you showing a Gen Z person that this is a company you want to be spending the next 10, 15 years with, because it seems like a company that you wanted to have spent the 90s with, but not the 2030s.
Yeah, and mobile enablement or self-service, that's all just so much clunkier, so many more pieces in the on-premise world.
And when we look at going to switch side to like features and functionality, because that's another thing is to look at, is if you look at Employee Central versus SAP HR, for example, there are capabilities that exist there that exist in Employee Central that don't exist in SAP HCM. So, but is that also true the other way around? Are there customers that are stuck to their custom programs because they can't maintain that same capability in Employee Central? Or is that just a myth or a fallacy, which is creating an unnecessary roadblock to certain customers from moving?
I think a lot is the latter, and I want to speak specifically to some of the conversations I've had with existing SAP HR customers right now, because there's sometimes an equation of, well, the way we're doing it today is the way we should be doing it in the future. Even if the way you're doing it today, absolutely, maybe it's perfectly valid. Maybe it's even slightly better in certain things. If that doesn't matter necessarily, you got to be looking forward. And really, you have to say, is that thing that we're so agonized about possibly giving up, is that really a competitive advantage to us in the marketplace? If the answer to that is no, then you're going to have to get over the fact that things are going to need to change. And I get way too one thing that's really a pet peeve of mine when I get to implementations is, if I hear, and I try to make sure that I say this up front so that everybody's fair warned, if someone says, well, we can't go backwards in functionality, that's where I immediately raise my hands and say, okay, that is not a reason for not doing something. What's the underlying business need as to why you need that certain thing to work that certain way? If it's just, well, we can't go back to our users and say, okay, we're doing things a slightly different way now. That's when you know that you're not really embracing the future. And the future is, the future is not only just that, we're going to compare to what we are doing, what we can see in the system right now. The future is betting on the fact that because we are on cloud multi-tenant, the cloud multi-tenant can move way faster. And so maybe we're slightly behind in a certain area, but over time, it's just going to move much, much quicker. And you're going to get further enhancements that you won't be able to get in on premise. And that's another, you have to go beg the basis department to get things brought into the system. No disrespect to the basis departments, they've got competing interests. A lot of times HR is not right on the top of their list. And by going to the cloud, you get those enhancements. So you're looking forward. You got to be thinking about not what's it like today, but where do we want to go in the future? And the future is clear that and this also goes with the SAP HR side of the house. SAP will tell you, we're not really innovating over there anymore. We're not wanting to innovate anymore. We're moving to the cloud. We're moving to SuccessFactors. We're moving to Employee Central. And they've already been encouraging, giving the carrot side, but I think where we're also headed is there's going to be a little bit of a stick coming as well, which is in lack of support, in reduced support, I guess you would say, that's coming in the future. So that's something else to keep in mind is, soon it's not just a matter of the fact that it's going to evolve quicker, but also you're going to be, it's going to be harder for you to get the support you need as opposed to the SuccessFactors where you can get all the support you need.
Right.
Yeah. Well, something that was resonating to me in what you said is that if we do things differently, doesn't mean we do them less well.
Right.
And something I often say is, think of an electric car versus a standard. Well, we moved away, and if you buy a Tesla or if you buy any other kind of electric car, you actually have to change the way you do things. You need to figure it out a little bit in a different way. That doesn't mean it's worse. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It doesn't mean it's just
very good analogy.
different.
Yeah.
And actually, once you get used to it, you realize it actually works better often. So Well, I would have another 15 questions about how you suggest your customers to look at urgency, to look at prioritization. We may have to have a second chat, Brandon.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, if you can tolerate it, I can be on it.
Oh yeah.
I suggest we take it to a second chat, and I'll try to organize something maybe early next year. But any last word of advice to our audience?
I'm just trying to be as direct as possible. That this is something that you're going to have to move to, both from the standpoint of the maintenance is starting to get tapered off, if you will, as well as the fact that the investment onto the cloud side, for all the reasons we already talked about, this is where things are going. So there's no point in having a discussion about if we move to the cloud. The question is, when do you move to the cloud? And why do you want to waste time and investment in something that's going away? I'm trying to remember what I think it's the quote at the end of When Harry Met Sally, when he says, when Billy Crystal says, when you want the rest of your life to begin, you want your rest of your life to begin as soon as possible. I think, did I get that right? Anybody else remember that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
I can't remember the exact quote, but that sounds about right.
So let's start the rest of our lives as soon as possible, people. Come on, let's do it. Let's move to the cloud.
Thank you so much, Brandon. It was absolutely fabulous. And thank you, audience, to be here with us, and we'll talk again soon.